From Marilyn Monroe's subway dress moment to James Dean's final gas station stop, history has given us rare glimpses of legends caught completely off guard. These are the candid, unposed moments where icons looked the most human, and sometimes the most unforgettable. Welcome to Vintage Lens. Stick around as we explore these timeless snapshots of history's greatest figures. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you never miss our deep dives into the unseen side of the past. Marilyn Monroe. Year 1954. A classic candid or studio publicity still showing Marilyn's dress blown up over a subway grate. The famous 7-year itch moment. The image captures Monroe's surprised, playful expression as crowds gathered and photographers shot the scene. Many versions circulated as both candid stills and staged promotional images. James Dean. Year 1955. A stark candid showing James Dean at a gas station shortly before his fatal car crash. The image reads as an unguarded, ordinary moment, Dean checking the car or pausing at the pump, which has since become one of the most haunting caught-off-guard celebrity photos because of its timing. Oscar Wilde. Year 1882. Napoleon Saroni's 1882 portrait of Oscar Wilde shows him seated with a book, hand to cheek, a relaxed, contemplative moment that reads like an off-guard capture compared to the strongly posed Victorian studio norm. The image file page lists provenance and scanning details. Audrey Hepburn. Year 1964. Bob Willoughby's on-set photograph shows Audrey Hepburn off-guard and relaxed in a behind-the-scenes moment with her Yorkshire Terrier. It's a gentle, candid portrait that emphasizes Hepburn's warmth away from the camera's deliberate glamour. Elvis Presley. Year 1956. A selection page from an archive of Elvis images in 1956 showing him in informal, unposed situations, from TV appearances to candid backstage shots. These images capture the young Elvis reacting spontaneously to the frenzy around him. Laughs, startled faces, off-guard poses. John Lennon and Yoko Ono. Year 1969. A P and Press photo archives hold candid frames from Lennon and Ono's private sessions, Tittenhurst Park era, showing them in unguarded moments, laughing, startled, or at ease in their estate. Lola Montez. Year 1851. A daguerreotype portrait of dancer, celebrity Lola Montez, taken by Southworth and Hawes. Though formal in format, the expression and costume details give it an intimate, slightly spontaneous feeling, offering a rare, close look at a notorious mid-19th century star. Frank Sinatra. Year 1962. A behind-the-scenes performance photograph of Sinatra during TV or variety show work, showing him in an unposed instant, a glance, a yawn, a private expression, rather than a promotional portrait. A good example of a vintage celebrity caught off guard. Greta Garbo. Year 1929. Studio or press photographs by Clarence Sinclair Bull and peers include informal poses and fleeting expressions where Garbo appears less composed than her famous stoic portraits, rare glimpses that read as candid or minimally posed compared with her public image. Marlon Brando. Year 1952 to 1954. Margaret Bourke-White and other photographers captured Brando in informal portrait sessions and on location, producing frames where the actor is clearly unposed, caught mid-smile or mid-gesture, which archives and magazines later published as candid study images of the young star. Mark Twain. Year 1907. This group includes an unposed portrait of Samuel Clemens, Mark Twain, seated and smoking, a relaxed, off-guard studio moment rather than a rigid publicity shot. Nikola Tesla. Year 1899, a dramatic laboratory image of Nikola Tesla beside his magnifying transmitter as huge electrical discharges arc around him. The photo reads partly like a scientific portrait and partly like a caught-in-the-moment experiment shot, since it records the apparatus in active operation. Thomas Edison, year 1901. This well-known press photograph shows Thomas A. Edison surrounded by apparatus in his West Orange laboratory, a candid documentary-style shot that captures him at work rather than posing for a studio portrait. Sarah Bernhardt, year 1890s. Wikimedia's Sarah Bernhardt holdings include backstage and role study photos, Cleopatra, Francesca da Rimini, etc., showing candid expressions and mid-action gestures, rare glimpses of the great 19th century star off the formal red carpet style that modern viewers expect. Buster Keaton, year 1920s. Keaton's archive files include behind-the-scenes and candid press shots where the comic's famously stoic face is seen off guard, smoking, laughing with colleagues, or mid-movement between takes. These images are excellent for caught-off-guard compilations because they contrast with his perfectly engineered screen persona. Lillian Gish, 1920. This motion picture magazine cover image and related file pages show Lillian Gish in less formal photographic work, studio and publicity frames where she appears relaxed and spontaneous rather than tightly posed. Coco Chanel, year 1920. Early portrait and publicity images of Coco Chanel from the 1910s to 1920s often capture her in informal poses, walking by the seaside in a hat or in candid studio frames, which offer rare off-guard glimpses of the designer before she became the globally recognized fashion icon. Ella Fitzgerald, year 1940. Ella Fitzgerald in a relaxed portrait by Carl van Vechten. She's not performing, more casual and composed, showing another side of her public image. The photo is from the Library of Congress Van Vechten collection. Harpo Marx, year 1926. Harpo Marx in an informal moment, playing harp. He is in character but also looks unscripted, expressive. The background is simple, no big production, giving a more personal feel. Image comes from the New York Public Library collection. Marx Brothers, year 1931. Though this is more a posed portrait rather than a candid action shot, the grouping of the brothers together in a less formal pose, some smiles, relaxed posture, gives a sense of personality, not just publicity. It's one of the few high-quality group photos of them from that period. Harry Houdini, year 1908. Photo shows Houdini just before a daring jump, locked in chains, hands cuffed behind his back, into Charles River. He's caught in the act of preparation, not posing. Raw stage setting of a famous performer pushing limits. Clara Bow with Richard Arlen and Scotty, dog, year 1928. Clara Bow is seen beside her co-star Richard Arlen and their dog, Scotty, in a promotional or set photo. The dog makes it more informal and the setting less polished, gives a spontaneous feel unlike heavily staged portraits. Jean Harlow, year 1931. During filming of The Beast of the City, Jean Harlow is captured taking a break, using a dolly to rest. The contrast of her costume, film setup with her relaxed posture gives a glimpse behind the glamour and labor of filmmaking. Shirley Temple, year 1936. Little Shirley Temple is seen off guard, clutching animal crackers while waiting during filming. Her usual exuberance is paused, and the photo gives a humanizing pause in her relentless schedule as a child star. Bette Davis and Joan Blondell, year 1932. The two actresses are photographed in a more informal, off-set vibe. Beachwear, relaxed posture, interacting with set environment rather than an idealized glamour pose. You see a side of them that is less rehearsed. Judy Garland and a young Liza Minnelli. Year 1948. A mother-daughter moment. Judy Garland and her daughter Liza Minnelli are caught between takes, Liza trying to mimic songs and movement. It's not a posed portrait. The candid energy of family perform life mix shows. Lauren Bacall and Humphrey Bogart. Year 1948. Between takes, Bacall and Bogart are seen interacting quietly. Laughter, small gestures not part of their on-screen roles, captures their chemistry outside of the character but while still under movie set surroundings. Joan Crawford. Year 1942. Joan Crawford is caught mid-stitch with knitting needles during a pause in filming. This off-duty moment, even if still within her work environment, is rare. We don't often see major stars doing something so domestic in cinematic contexts. Donna Reed and Jimmy Stewart. 1946. During filming, Stewart and Reed are not acting the scene but dancing in a lighter moment, relaxed, joyful, unguarded compared to the heavy emotional content of their film. The image gives insight into how stars decompress on set. Director Michael Curtiz, Humphrey Bogart and Ingrid Bergman. 1942. A backstage frame where director Curtiz is setting up a scene with Bogart and Bergman listening or moving between cues. These are the moments of the final camera roll but critical in film production. You see stars in transition, not performance. Queen Victoria. Year 1860. A less formal studio portrait of Queen Victoria, taken by J.J.E. Maille, that shows the monarch in a quieter, more personal pose than the large ceremonial coronation images. A subtly candid look at the sovereign in mid-Victorian private regalia. Charles Dickens. Year 1867. A documentary portrait of Charles Dickens seated at his desk, captured in a working moment rather than a stiffly posed engraving. The photo emphasizes his authorial presence and the tools of his craft, an intimate, caught-at-work image. Abraham Lincoln. Year 1863. This widely studied photograph of the Gettysburg dedication includes a discovered detail where Lincoln's face is visible among the crowd, a haunting off-guard capture of the president at one of the most consequential public moments of the 19th century. Buffalo Bill, William F. Cody. Year 1890s. A large group performance shot from Buffalo Bill's Wild West tours that includes Cody among performers and native participants. The photo reads like a documentary, capturing him in the middle of spectacle rather than a posed studio portrait. P.T. Barnum. Year 1855 to 1865. An archival glass negative portrait and related stereographs of P.T. Barnum and interior views of his estate. These images show the showman in his domestic and professional environment, offering offstage glimpses of a public performer and impresario. Florence Nightingale. Year 1858. A photographic portrait of Florence Nightingale from the late 1850s that conveys a candid documentary quality. Not a staged propaganda portrait, but a record of a reformer in the period following the Crimean War, with the modest, work-worn presence she became known for. Jenny Lind. Year 1850. The Swedish Nightingale in a studio daguerreotype taken while touring the United States. The image captures Lind in a relatively informal seated pose that reads as a private off-performance moment from a celebrity on a grueling tour. Frédéric Chopin. Year 1849. One of the scarce photographic records of Chopin taken late in his life by L.A. Bisson, the portrait carries a candid documentary power because photographs of the composer are rare, and this image captures him in a plainly human, offstage posture. Franz Liszt. Year 1847 to 1870s. Portrait photographs and painted portrait reproductions of Franz Liszt detail moments when the virtuoso is shown off performance in studio or casual poses. These images read like candid glimpses of a celebrity absorbed by music rather than posing for ornate state portraits.